You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast. Hey guys, so we're still in the coronavirus phase, and I'm recording this from my backyard because all my kids are inside homeschooling. I so need to restrain myself from going on a tangent about homeschooling. But basically, if you don't hear from me, if the podcast immediately cease to exist and stop coming to you, it means you need to send the police to my house because I am dead, or someone in my family is dead because of homeschooling. That's probably not a funny joke because people actually are dying. So please don't write emails or contact us. I get it. It was poor taste. But you guys, homeschooling. Oh my God. I have a 9-year-old who has more Zoom meetings than I ever had in one day, of school than I have in my entire career. So we have our good days and bad days. Yesterday was a great day. I'm an introvert, so it's kind of like my dream to have an excuse to stay at home and disconnect. But also I'm looking at my backyard right now, and my grass has been dug up to create a dirt bike hills for my kids to ride their bikes over these hills. But at this point, I'm so desperate, I will let them destroy anything they want if it gives me 30 minutes of peace. So, with that tangent, here's the deal. I've been thinking about you, of course, and I came across this poem. Some of you might have known it or have heard of it before, but basically, it's about children. But I'm not going to apply it to kids. I'm going to apply it to our marriage and actually loving someone with addiction, because I read it and thought, oh, that's brilliant. And this episode is about staying. And this is specifically for you guys out there that go, I'm not interested in leaving. I don't want to get a divorce. Or maybe you're not ready to get a divorce. You're thinking maybe it might be in your future, but you're not quite sure. You guys, seriously, I was just recording and my 9-year-old is knocking at the window, waving at me because he's avoiding his Zoom call. Okay, and a car alarm just went off. You guys, we're all going to end this together. We're going to get through this. Gosh. So if you're one of those people out there that you're like, Michelle, stop talking to me about leaving, because I want to stay. Or if you were like me back in the day when I was married to a very good man who was struggling with addiction, I was tired of people telling me I needed to go. I was tired of people telling me, oh, Michelle, if I were you, I would have left a long time ago. You should have, I don't know how you put up with that. Or say things like that are incredibly hurtful, and they don't understand what they're saying when they give you that advice or they give you that feedback. They don't realize the damage that does to your heart. But because people are trying to help, but unless you've been in this situation, it's really not great to take advice from people who have not been in love with an addict. That's why a lot of those self-help books that you're reading that are New York Times bestsellers and their marriage advice, or they offer some kind of advice, they don't apply to women like us. And if they're responsible authors, they will preface that at the beginning of the book, that if you are in a relationship with an addict or if you are in an abusive relationship, that advice is not pertain to you. But not all authors do that. So if you're reading a self-help book, and there's some of them out there that shall remain nameless because it's the right thing to do, but there's a lot of them that come to mind. They're not applicable to relationships with addiction. So if you are in a relationship and you are not ready to leave, or you don't want to leave, This is for you. It's a poem. It's called Welcome to Holland. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to give you some advice afterwards that obviously you can take or leave, okay? Now, here's the poem. Remember, the author wrote it in reference to having a baby, but I need you to use your imagination and apply it to your relationship with loving somebody who's suffering from addiction. Okay? Here we go. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The flight attendant comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, you say? What do you mean, Holland? I signed up for Italy. I am supposed to be in Italy. All my life I've dreamed of going to Italy. But there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of petulance, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks, and you must learn a whole new language. And you will meet a whole new group of people you would never have met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy, but after you've been there for a while, you can catch your breath and look around, and then you begin to notice that Holland has windmills, and Holland has tulips. Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, "Yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned." And the pain of that will never, ever, ever, ever go away. Because the loss of that dream is a very, very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland. Isn't that good? When I read that, I thought of us. I thought of us because most of us did not plan or dream of thinking of marrying somebody or loving somebody that suffers from addiction. When we were all younger, we dreamed about our future relationships as happy and healthy. And a lot of times we compare our relationships with an addict to our friends or our family or our neighbors, and we see everybody else having these wonderful, wholesome, reliable marriages. And we live in a different land. We live in a land of unpredictability, pain and suffering, manipulation and lies. And we think, how did we get here? Why are we here? And can I ever be happy with this? And for those of you right now who have decided to stay, then getting to the point that you not only have to cope in this strange land, but that you need to find joy here where you can is of utmost priority. Because if you have decided to stay, it's no longer acceptable for you to wake up every day hoping and praying that the person that you love is going to change. because you're constantly living in a state of anxiety. And you're giving away your power by allowing somebody else to dictate your joy and happiness based on their daily choices. If you decide to stay, your whole goal is to be at peace and happy with your reality, which is the fact that the one you love may or may not ever get sober. If you are deciding to stay, and I'm sorry guys, there is a truck that, I don't know if it's a garbage truck, I don't know what it is, but I'm doing the best I can here. I need to talk to you. I want to be helpful to you in this time, but it's just a lot of distractions. Okay, so if you decide to stay, guys, if you are one of those people that's like, I'm not leaving, your work and your job is to make peace with your situation, to accept the reality that they may or may not ever get sober, and that you have to be okay with that you have to lower your expectations so that not every day you're waking up hopeful that today might be the day that they get sober. But you wake up with hope, thinking today's the day that you're going to take charge of your life and own your own happiness. So how do you get happy if you decide to stay? Is that even possible? You might be wondering. Frankly, I don't know the answer to that question because I left. That's the honesty there. But here's what I do know that might bring you happiness that you might want to explore if you've decided to stay. And that is, you need to find ways to connect with others, okay? And when I say connect with others, it's great to take a dance class or a painting class when all this coronavirus is over or whatever it is. But I also mean connecting with others that are going through the same thing as you. There's such a deeper, more vulnerable language that we can use. It's almost like secondhand language. When you love somebody that struggles with addiction that other people don't get. And like I said before, well-intentioned, loving people can give absolutely horrible advice. I received awful advice for years because they don't understand the intricacies and the limitations of addiction. So connect with others who have gone through this. You guys know we have a secret Facebook group. That is one area. Listen, Facebook groups are not for everyone. I personally get pretty shy. I'm an introvert. I don't love joining groups. I'm not a group joiner. So go into the group, find a person that you really connect with, who speaks your language, who has similar aspects of your life, and then personally reach out to them. So many best friends have happened and occurred in that secret Facebook group. So you don't have to talk to the whole group. Just select one or two women in the group that you really like and then privately message them and start your own group. Another thing that you can do if you are deciding to stay and you want to take charge of your own happiness in life is finding ways to stop obsessing about their addiction. You guys, here's a rule of thumb. If you stay or leave, you are not allowed to Google anything about addiction ever again. That's their job. It's their job to research and figure out and diagnose themselves. It's their job to learn where the therapists are. It's their jobs to find out and join the meetings. Stop babying them. If they're old enough to buy a carton of beer or a carton of cigarettes or a case of beer, then they're old enough to go online and get themselves some help, okay? So you're not their mother and you're not going to obsess, and you continuing to sit there and obsess and control and, learn about the disease and try to make helpful suggestions is just a way for you to control and manipulate. And you got to quit doing that, because if you want them to stop manipulating you, then you have to stop manipulating them. Does that make sense? And the way you're doing that is by constantly nagging them or suggesting things or threatening or begging. None of that, okay? So we're going to stop obsessing. We're going to stay in our own lane, and we're going to get help for us, because we are equally as addicted and sick as they are. We're going to do our own work. So third, when you stop caring for them so much, I want you to replace that with caring for yourself. For example, if you are the type of woman or man who is in love with somebody suffering from addiction, and that person is struggling with taking care of helping you around the house, they're leaving all the chores to you, that you've become the chef, that you are the maid, that you are the chauffeur, that you are the child caregiver, and the report card reviewer, and the teacher-parent conference person, and you are the worker, and you are all of it. I want you to stop. You do not need to do their laundry. They can do their laundry themselves. You don't need to do their dishes. They can do the dishes themselves. You don't need to take care of paying their bills, or especially stop buying them alcohol or whatever, or giving them money and paying off their debts if they're unemployed. I just want you to put all of that energy into taking care of you. Now, if you're like me and you're one of those women or men, I don't want to leave the men out here, that say, Michelle, I hate a dirty house, particularly since we have to spend all day in the house now that this virus is going around. I would say, cool, here's what you do. Get a big black garbage bag. You know, those ones that hold tons of weight? Go around the house and gather all of their crap, throw it in the bag, and put their bag in their closet or wherever else, in their car or in the garage, and let them know. You can say, I have decided that I am not going to be your maid, your chauffeur, your chef, whatever. So if you leave your stuff around the house, I will no longer be picking it up. And you can find it in this bag, which is in the garage. And you just constantly do that until they learn that they are old enough, big enough, and responsible enough to start helping you out around the house. This is how you take ownership of your happiness and you stop being so resentful because you're not doing anything for them anymore that makes you feel resentful, right? You're actually just taking care of your own needs, and you're not doing anything because you think it's the right thing to do or you feel guilty if you don't. You got to stop that. That's an illness, that's a sickness, that's a false message that you've been telling yourself, okay? A partnership and a marriage, particularly if you want to stay married to the person you are in love with, needs to be equal. Two people need to do equal amount of work in the house in order for an inner relationship, in order for you not to grow resentful. So if they are not doing that, then you are going to stop doing it for them, because that is getting you nowhere and is making you miserable and is making you a nag and a bitter and not a friendly person who people enjoy being around. So stay in your lane, take care of yourself, do your laundry, cook for yourself, eat when you want to eat, clear your dishes. Go on that vacation when this is all over by yourself or with your friends. No need to wait for them to join you or agree to go. You don't even know if they're going to be sober and therefore have a good time, even if they were to agree to going on vacation with you. Do things for yourself. Start thinking of yourself as an independent human being who is not relying on anyone to make you happy. And I got news for you. If you do this, and if you follow these instructions and directions to a T, guess what's going to happen? You're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to feel more empowered. You're going to start recognizing how strong and amazing of a person that you are, that you don't need them in order to survive, and the choice to stay or to leave will entirely feel like a choice. It won't feel like you're stuck anymore, or that it's not an option. You'll recognize that you are such a strong person that you can go anytime you want to and you'll be completely fine. But maybe you choose not to go, and that's okay too. And here's the other bit of truth I've got for you. I had to do this, guys. I was just like you. I would leave pamphlets of AA meetings all around the house. I'd buy the books and read them for him. I'd make the phone calls to the therapist. I'd threaten him and drop him off at AA meetings. All of it. I did all of it. Okay, I was the worst. The worst. And here's what happened. I left him. And then I got remarried. And guess what? I married a guy who was so independently healthy, mentally, spiritually, that I had to learn to drop those behaviors because I brought them into my next marriage. I had to learn that even if you're in a super healthy marriage, I can't turn to anybody to make me happy. I can't turn to anybody to sit there and make me feel better. When I'm having a rough day, the old Michelle would have picked up the phone and called my husband and vented and then expected him to say some magical sentence or paragraph or monologue that would make me feel better so I can hang up the phone and go, oh, I'm so glad I married him. He loves me and I feel so great. Guess what? Even in healthy marriages that don't have addiction issues, that's really a really dangerous expectation to place on anybody else. So now, when I'm having a rough day, instead of picking up my phone and calling Brian, I sit there and I go, okay, I got a list of tools that I can use, that I can pull out right now. What do I need? Do I need to set up my laptop on my kitchen counter and bake to Ina Garden's cooking show? That always does it for me. She's fantastic. Do I need to get out one of my self-help books that I've highlighted and marked up and scribbled on just to give myself a quick therapy session and get my butt in gear? Maybe I need to grab a box of tissues, go into my closet and cry for a good 30 minutes and feel sorry for myself. Maybe I need to put on a playlist that I have created based on the mood that I have and go for a walk in my neighborhood and just zone out and get away and move my body to whatever music I've decided. I have a list of tools and I use them all the time. And guess what happens? Then when I do that, Brian comes home, walks in the door from work. I've already taken care of my needs. I might mention to him I was really having a tough time because that helps us connect. But I'm not telling him out of desperation. I'm not telling him with the expectation that he should make me feel better or he should empathize or there's a right answer that he should tell me that if he doesn't, it means he doesn't love me. It means he doesn't care, which is all the messed up thinking that I was thinking of before. That's what I placed on my first marriage. I thought my spouse had the key to my happiness and that he was the only one that was the owner of that key. And that is a false sense of reality. And I don't know where the heck I got that from because my parents didn't teach me that. But somewhere along the way, I thought a man would be able to make it better. And it was his job and it was my job. And here's the other thing, guys. It was my job to make him feel better. That was the other false sense of truth, was that I held the key to his happiness. So if I was the wife, if I did the dishes perfectly, if I made the beds, if I was super organized, if the kids were well behaved, if I worked out and looked a certain way, if I did everything right that I thought a woman should do, well then he would love me equally. I possessed the key. He wouldn't be able to leave me. He wouldn't have an affair on me. He would brag about me to his friends. He would come home on time. What a bunch of bull. Because guess what? None of those things happened. I worked my butt off day in and day out with total grit and determination to make everything okay, to make everything better. And guess what happened? My husband had multiple affairs with hookers. He was sleeping around when I was at home making the beds and cooking the perfect meal. He never came home on time. He went to the neighborhood bars. Nothing worked out because I was fooling myself to think that somehow, some way I could make a difference in his sobriety and his addiction and his poor choices. No, we could be Mother Teresa. Think about, and they would still struggle with their choices. And we could be married to the Tom Brady's. I don't even know if Tom Brady's a good husband. Whoever. Picture the guy you think is the best husband. Okay, we could be married to him. And he wouldn't make us feel better in the long run. We'd get just as frustrated with that perfect husband that we would with our existing ones. Because it's not about who we're married to. It's about our baggage and what we came into this relationship with and changing ourselves. That's where we're going to find freedom to choose. That's where we're going to find the happiness and the joy amongst the storms and the chaos and the trauma. And when we talk about Holland in the poem, yeah, you could sit there and say, well, addiction is certainly not comparable to Holland. There's no Rembrandts in addiction. Yes, there is. There absolutely is. I guarantee you, I would not give back being married to my first husband and even an hour of the trauma and chaos that I went through, because it was necessary in my life. It served as an opportunity for me to grow into the woman I am today. And unfortunately, I'm just a woman who needs to learn the hard way. And you know what? Chances are the fact that you're in this situation, you might be one of those women as well. There was a part of us, let's just get really freaking real here for a second. There was a part of us, in each one of us, that kind of thought, that kind of had a hunch, that kind of knew on our wedding day what we were getting into. For most of us, that is true, but we ignored it. We thought if we were better, if we made them love us, if we could overcome it together, it would bring us through. Maybe, we even enjoyed it because it allowed us to be the nurse and they could be the patient. It allowed us to focus on their crap and not ours. It put us in a position of God, in a way that we think we control their destiny by how great we are. Maybe there was some kind of weird enjoyment out of the trauma or the drama of it all. Maybe we became just as addicted to the drama as they are to their drugs and alcohol. So this is an opportunity. We are in Holland. And Holland can be beautiful. And Holland can be filled with hope and joy and love and patience and growth and hard work and beauty. I found tons of beauty through addiction. I have now in a second happy marriage, and I would have never given Brian a second glance because he's way too healthy if I had not gotten burned so badly the first time. I had to learn the hard way. I had to take accountability for my life. And you know who helped me do that is my kids, because I realized, you know what, I can come into this relationship pretty screwed up, but I do not want to screw up my children. So I'm going to get my act together. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to be an excellent role model for them. I'm going to mirror to them the type of relationship and the type of woman that I want them either to become or to be married to. That is my responsibility that I took on when I decided to have kids within the world of addiction. And it's your responsibility if you have kids too, is to do the darn work. So listen, whether you stay or whether you go, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is your opportunity. We're all in Holland, and we all need to make the best of it. Because Holland is a place that we were meant to be. It was part of our destiny. It is part of our opportunity. I love you guys. I hope you're taking care during this very difficult time. I am wishing the best for each one of you. And thank you for giving me some grace with the garbage trucks and the sirens and the lack of production in this podcast. I love you all.
This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with Michelle's personal thoughts and beliefs. From one woman to another, bonded together by the fact we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.